Hello. Today I want to talk about some of the purchases I made on my recent trip to the Alifia River Rendezvous down in Florida. We had a pretty good time. Susie and I went down, set up camp, and did quite a bit of shopping. So my first purchase when I got there was this top hat. And while top hats didn't become popular until the late 18th century, early 19th century, this one I plan to do a little modification to it and use it for a War of 1812 persona. The second cap I picked up off of a trade blank is this small little, it's actually a continental forage cap. The colors match my continental uniform. This would be a hat you would wear to sleep in or for fatigue duty when you're working around. The reason it's called a forage cap is you can undo this button, it'll fold out, and you can use this as a bag to put whatever items. If you're out foraging for foodstuffs, you can put it in this and use it as a sack to carry it back with. Now, with the forage cap on the same trade blanket, I purchased this small sword right here. This will definitely get a video at a later time. I am not sure if this is actually from the time period or if it's a reproduction. I did a little research when I got back home and have found some similar to this that were made in Germany around 1900. So this may be a late 19th, early 20th century, but it's done in the same style they would have used during the 18th century. It's just a nice little piece. I've always wanted a nice little hunting sword, and the price was right, so I purchased it. And like I said, this will get its own video coming up soon. And while we were there, I actually ran into my favorite seamstress, Fort Downing Traders, Miss Franny. Talked me into purchasing this shirt. It is wrinkled and dirty because I wore it in Florida and it was 80 degrees and it's sweaty and it needs to go in the laundry. Miss Franny does excellent work, but due to her health and her husband Leroy's health, she's no longer taking custom orders. Well, she is on a limited basis, but you can still, she still has stuff in her shop that she's putting out. And this is one I actually noticed, these indigo dyed shirts. Hold it up there. At Martin Station last year when they were there for the May event, and so I bought one, and the reason I bought it was because the day before I had stepped in there, and also I had seen these breeches before. I bought these smoked deerskin breeches. These were actually her husband Leroy's. He had put them in the shop to sell. I had been looking, like I said, I had been looking at them before. I was pretty sure I could wear them, and they fit good around the waist. The only issue is Leroy's just a little bit shorter than I am, and they ride a little high at the knee, but I think that's something that, well, it doesn't really matter. It helped Leroy out that I bought these, and I have something from my Uncle Leroy, and that's an inside joke that if she ever sees this, her and Leroy will know what I mean. So, let me set these off to the side. Now, the next thing I have there, I bought a yard of this cotton, indigo dyed. It's batik dyed, which is very period correct. It has a really nice pattern. I did trim it down to make a 36-inch square to use it for a neck cloth, but this is some extremely nice cotton fabric, and it is a period design, and when I saw it I just had to have a yard of it. And at $12 a yard it was, you know, relatively inexpensive, and I will probably split this because I've got it to make a neck cloth or a head wrap with, but I can actually split it and make two out of the fabric. Extremely nice. I was going to go back by and pick up some more, but then actually got kind of busy and forgot. My next thing here is something I bought from Joey Hall, Father, Sons, and Friends. As first day we got there, we walked in. It's a leather portmanteau valise. They had it on the trade blanket, and I think that they had purchased this from somebody else because there's some stuff inside that I had gotten along with it. But got a really good deal on it. I'll open it up, take some of the stuff out. It's actually designed, it's got the D-rings on the back, two sides, tie onto a saddle, and which is part of the reason I got it. If I ever get around to setting up a mounted persona, this will be part of it. So I've been looking for one for a while. I've been thinking about making one, but I've just not had the time. Oh, spider, get off of there. Picked up a little hitchhiker there. So we'll open this up. And that way you can see, I'll take some of this stuff out, show you the inside, because I do have a few other nice little objects in here that we will talk about. But as you can see, it's got the leather straps around. It actually has wood reinforcement on the end, so it'll hold its shape. They're covered in fabric and tacked in place, and it's just basically a small leather valise or suitcase. Now the other thing that came with that is these two pieces of fabric. One of them has actually been tied to be worn as a fly plaid, and it actually looks like a smaller check version of black watch, so it will go with my 18th century black watch kilt that I'm planning on wearing to a Burns night supper if I don't wear this other kilt sitting here. But anyway, I got the valise and these two pieces of fabric. And it's just, I'm not sure if that's even wool, if it's just cotton flannel, but it's got a nice feel to it, and it looks pretty good. And again, the price was reasonable. So after buying that stuff from Joey Hall with Father, Sons, and Friends, I went to my friend Gerald Duke's establishment, and I went specifically to buy a horn, and because Gerald is retiring from the horning business, and when he sells out, they won't be available. I've known Gerald for several years, and because I make my own horns, I just couldn't bring myself to buy one, and you know, part of the reason I went to Florida to that place was to purchase a Gerald Duke's horn, and this is the one I bought. It has a ship scene on it here with a small fish. Has Liberty in scrimshawed in here, and it has an inscription on here: if horns you love, if horns you crave, now for 1 crown this one you may have. I thought that was kind of neat. I like the ship's inscription. I will be doing I will make another video on just this horn close up, probably throw it in for my shorts and stuff. But it's one of the powder horns that's in my collection, and this one probably will be hung on the wall and actually not used very much. But anyway, I will do a video on this and go into more detail on the details on this horn, because it is a nice banded southern horn. It's a large size French and Indian Moor, what most people consider a early style of French and Indian Moor horn, because the horns tended to get smaller as time progressed. But I do like my big horns to carry a lot of powder when I'm out in the field. While I was at Gerald Duke's, he also had this piece of fabric right here, which is, let me unroll it here, a nice hang it off right here. This is a nice box pleated 18th century style kilt. There's no belting or anything, so you have to wear a belt. This is like the early, from the 1750s into the 1790s, early 1800s style of kilt. I'm not sure if this is just a plaid fabric or if it's a specific tartan. I forgot to ask him. I'll have to send him an email or something and find out. But it is a nice box pleated kilt with a little cotton backing on the back, on the inside. Just put it on, wrap it around, put your belt on, and go from there. Anyway, I like the colors, and like I said, in the 18th century, they weren't as picky about, people want to say, oh, what family tartan's this and that. It was more you wore what the local mill in Scotland produced. That's why certain families have certain tartans. This was before the 1822 visit from King George, where Sir Walter Scott basically sat down and assigned all the clans their own specific tartan. So I don't have any qualms about wearing different. Some people say, oh, well, you can't wear this tartan, you can't wear that. I'm pretty much, if I have it, I'll wear it. And I like the coloring on this. It will go well with some other kit I have. And it gives me an option between this and the Black Watch tartan. And along with the kilt, I also purchased this nice little tam or Scott bonnet. It's a little bit big. I may put a drawstring in it, but I like the way it was made. I have a couple more modern. This is actually made in an earlier style. And since we do have a Burns Night Supper coming up on the 28th of January down at Fort Yargo, I'll be going down there. I'm not sure which kilt I'll be wearing, but I will be wearing a kilt. And another thing that I purchased there at Alifia was these here Poppins moccasins. I've been hearing a lot of good things about them, and I can say after buying some, they are comfortable, they're well made. I will be doing another video just on these themselves, and now I just met the people this week, although they do live in Sevierville, Tennessee, so they're actually not that far away. But like I said, I've had native friends that if you want really comfortable moccasins, and I make my own moccasins. I've been planning on making a new pair for a while. I haven't gotten around to doing it. I like these. And I wore them for 2 days after I bought them. I've been wearing them around the house since I got home as house slippers. So I highly recommend these. And like I said, this is not a paid endorsement or anything. It's just I like these moccasins. And I will be doing another video just on these, how they're constructed, and we'll have email information and stuff attached to that video. And the last thing that I purchased before we packed out was, I'm going to step up here a minute so I can get this really nice French and Indian War. It's scarlet with blue facings, and since it's scarlet instead of the madder red, that means that this is a sergeant or a low-ranking officer, ensign, lieutenant, something like that, French and Indian War coat. And it's got the epaulets with the turn-back cuffs, and it may look black in this lighting, but it's actually a dark blue. So it's probably one of the Royal units. I don't know what unit this coat was used for, but it's in very good shape. I got a really good deal on it, and since I do some French and Indian War reenacting, now I just have to find a place where this uniform was being used and go there and do some events. So anyway, I did buy a few other small items and some books and stuff. There was a lot of blanket traders. There was a lot of good vendors and stuff down at Alifia. The weather was great. It was a long drive to get there, and I'm just going to leave it at that. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you.